Millions of people have been infected by the coronavirus, which is terrible. But what's really beautiful is that hundreds of millions, if not already maybe a billion people, have been infected by the virus of humanity. Hi, my name is Michiel and I am the founder of Bright Vibes. I've got a confession to make. In preparation for this video, I found it actually pretty hard to paint a picture of what the future might look like, because there is so much uncertainty. And I feel sometimes I would say that in general, I feel energy through this crisis. And I see huge opportunities for change, to redefine what normal is. Because what we thought was normal is what got us into the problems that we find ourselves in today. So redefining this and having a moment to pause, like we all have now, I think is a huge opportunity. And sometimes I'm also overwhelmed with sadness, not being able to see my mother, who's 83 years old, and give her a hug, be with her. But at the same time, we FaceTime more than we ever did before. So basically, I almost see her every day. But not being able to hug her, it's a very good illustration for the period that we find ourselves in today. It is a period of contrasts. So my talk is also going to be about these contrasts. What we do at Bright Vibes is that it's our mission to amplify the good in the world. That means that we tell stories of positive, inspirational initiatives and people who contribute to making our planet a more sustainable, a more social and a happier place. So we're storytellers and we build a community of people who enjoy watching our content and then also acting upon it. It's using emotion to reach the heart, open up their heads so their hands get into action. That's what we do, storytelling. And storytelling is a very important part of what the cultural sector does. And the importance of storytelling is tremendous. Many times when I speak at live audiences, I ask the audience to raise their hand if they consume a lot of news and social media. And usually 90% of the hands go up. And then I ask people if they actually, after watching these news and social media, if they feel better, if they feel more motivated to contribute to something positive. And then usually 10% of the hands are still there and 90% have gone. And that's pretty significant. So when we think about the role that the stories have that we tell, it's huge. If you Google "the news makes me" or "social media makes me" and you then look at the auto suggestions from Google, anxious, sad, cry, depressed, these stories that we bring out, whether that's through, like we do, through digital media or through the plays that we perform or the songs that we play, they have a huge influence over people. Now, does that mean that as I am the founder of Bright Vibes, that I am only and always positive? No, I'm not. I started Bright Vibes because I'm really worried the way we are plundering our planet without consideration, and I'm also worried about the growing inequality. The question is, okay, so we see, very obviously, we see that there is a crisis. Now, what do we do with that energy? Do we just lock ourselves up in our rooms? Or do we transform that energy into something creative? I think it's so important to not define yourself by what you hate, but define yourself by what you love. Let's talk about some of these contrasts. I myself, and I think many others too, are sort of like confused. On the one hand, we've got things that become really clear. For example, which really are essential jobs. What's really important in life. And on the other hand, it's confusing because we've seen that huge changes have taken place. That means that other huge changes can take place. It creates loads of opportunity. It also creates chaos in our heads, or let me say, at least let me speak for myself, in my head. So my conversation, the way I develop my vision is by looking at it from all different types of angles and looking at it from contrasts. So if we look at the current crisis, what it makes very clear is that we need to collaborate much more, that we are all connected. 190 plus countries are infected by the coronavirus. It is global and we need a global approach. At the same time, we notice how vulnerable we are on remote processes which are extremely complex, which happen in far away countries. It's all interconnected, and that creates at the same time a need to do much more local. What I foresee is that people will go much more into and I call it not a do-it-yourself, DIY mode, but in a do-it-ourselves mode, DIO. Do it ourselves, together with the people close to us, create more close-knit communities where we help each other, where we generate our own energy, where we partially start to create and grow our own food, and where we create and share our own cultural experiences. Looking at this crisis, from what can we learn from it? We can learn so much by thinking of what is it that we really miss. But on the other hand, we can also learn by looking at what is it that I would really love to keep. One of the most important things that we miss is physical. It is human contact. It is skin-to-skin contact with the people that we care about, but also with strangers. Human need for human touch. I think that is something which we tremendously miss. The things that we miss is something which we will really appreciate once we have it back. And that makes me very hopeful. Of course, everything is temporary. The same goes for the current situation. It will change again. Nobody knows when and nobody knows exactly into what, but it will change. The other thing that people really miss is the freedom to roam, to go wherever you want, joined in real life experiences. And there, culture, of course, plays a huge role. Being able to go to a concert or enjoy art together with like-minded people and being together with those people and feeling that energy and seeing this shared passion is something that we dearly miss. And oh my God, once we have that back, how much will we appreciate that? Then we can also look at what is it that we really want to keep, discoveries or rediscovering things that we really enjoy at this moment in time. A lot of people feel less stressed. Commuting, for example. It's like people are discovering that they can do a lot of work from home through digital means. So we're learning that we can do a lot digitally, but at the same time we also, of course, see the limitations. So again, I think there for cultural experiences, they will become even more important. How that will play out, I do not know yet. Partially, use digital media more than you do now. We use digital media as a main means. We sometimes organize events and we love that energy, but we do have a huge impact using social media, specifically through video. we've been able to build this huge community. So I also think that within the cultural sector, it is important to think of, hey, what can we translate to a digital experience? How can we use our creativity in that way? And yeah, it won't be easy, but the potential is there to reach millions and millions of people across the globe. An incredibly important element of what people want to keep, what people discovered through this pandemic, is that sense of solidarity and how wonderful it is to help others. And I think, again, there lies a big opportunity for the cultural sector as well. So we are discovering what's really important. Culture, art, music is really important. If you look at all the creativity that people come up with online, I mean, it is amazing. It is wonderful to see the creativity. It is wonderful to see the solidarity, the willingness to help people that we do not know. So I think there is a big opportunity for the cultural sector. There will be more people who will have more spare time. There is a much larger group of people who have experienced how great it is to do something, to contribute to something positive without asking for money. I think there will be a lot of energy, a lot of growth happening around volunteering, as making money is going to be an even bigger challenge. It's not so much about making money, right? It is about having the means to create something and to have an impact. By activating more volunteers, I think there are a lot of opportunities. We rediscover the importance of creativity, of music, of art, of self-expression. Whilst we're being isolated, if you look at what people create, I think that is absolutely wonderful. I think a lot of people are also experiencing how great it is to create something themselves. So I think we will also see a rise in people not just consuming culture, but also in creating cultural events. A rise of the amateur cultural creatives. What I also find a fascinating aspect, again with contrasts, is how businesses and organizations behave during this crisis. People aren't blind, and I think they will not forget which organizations and brands are really contributing, are rising and taking their role within society more than they ever did, and others who take disadvantage of this situation. What is becoming really clear through this crisis is that if you as a brand or as an organization do not care about the world, then why would the world care about you? Or to rephrase it positively, show the world that you care about the world and the world will care about you. Another contrast is that on the one hand, this crisis for a lot of people, it is completely overwhelming. But on the other hand, it is also extremely comforting. And it's specifically comforting to see, again, the solidarity. If you look at how many people are willing to stay at home and to make so many changes in order to protect a group of vulnerable people around the globe. What I believe is extremely beautiful and extremely important to realize is that what we're doing, and that we have to prove that when I make a change, we make the difference. And having that experience, I think, is very positive. Just like having this experience that huge change that we thought was unthinkable is actually possible. And the advantages that come with these changes. And again, these changes also come with a lot of uncertainty and a lot of fear, like losing jobs. On the other hand, what we see is nature reviving, and that's not just great for animal life, it's also great for us. I mean, we can finally see the Himalaya. We can clearly see the fish in the Venice canals. There are so many examples of nature reviving, us being able to breathe clean air again. What I hope to convey with this video is that I am hopeful. I'm hopeful for our planet, and I'm hopeful for the cultural sector and for social innovation. What makes me hopeful is the display of huge solidarity, the discovery by so many people that it's wonderful to contribute to something positive without getting any monetary reward for it in return, but getting so much energy and having this positive feedback loop. That creates opportunities for the cultural sector, because there will be a much bigger group of people who have discovered this and who want to continue to contribute positively. So try to create and facilitate an army of volunteers. The second thing that makes me hopeful is that we've seen that big change, huge changes, are actually possible. The display of creativity. This display of creativity is something, again, I think that will last, and I think there will be much more, let's call them homegrown, amateur, cultural creators. What makes me hopeful is that people are increasingly realizing what matters and what doesn't matter. And that it does make a difference if you buy your product from a big global industrialized retailer, or if you choose to spend your money with a local, socially responsible, sustainably operating small or medium-sized company. So I think for social entrepreneurs who show that they care about the world will care about them. What also makes me really hopeful is the creativity that people have displayed to continue cultural expression. If you look at how thousands of maybe even more people who recreated paintings, but then in real life. If you look at people performing operas or musicals on their balconies, I mean, there's so much expression of creativity, and I am 100% sure that now that people realize better what is really important, that the cultural sector will thrive. What makes me really hopeful is that this period is a time for contemplation. It makes a lot of people rethink which things really matter. And actually, a lot of people are discovering that the things that really matter are not things. They are shared experiences with other people. It is helping other people, and it is helping our planet. And in order to do so, the stories that we tell are incredibly important. And as social innovators and in the cultural sector, we are all storytellers. So I think, despite the fact that we are, bouncing back and forth between chaos and opportunity, between fear and excitement, let's use the energy between those extremes and use them to create a new and much better normal.